Hello everybody, it's Lonnie. I've been getting a lot of questions lately asking about shadow work. What is shadow work? How do you do shadow work? What's the reason for it? So I felt like maybe there's a need to start discussing that. Shadow work is where you have to deal with your inner self. Now the shadow is created from when you're little, when you keep hearing, don't do that, don't say that, that's not right, this ain't right, or fear, etc., etc. So as we grow older, as we become adults going through being a child, we carry these fears with us. Trauma, beliefs, things that we've done, things we've experienced. And these feelings, we just tend to bury them deep inside ourselves. And we never really face those fears. And we don't deal with those feelings, we just suppress them. And so over time, that has an impact on the way we believe, the way we act, what we do, our behavior, our feelings, relationships, jobs, and things like that. So in order to remove these blocks and to move forward in life, we have to deal with those pains. We have to deal with those shadows that we have carried around with us over time. And the way you do that is by facing those feelings and those fears and dealing with them and admitting that you are ready to deal with those feelings. So there's several steps, but first step is acknowledging them. Okay, you have to acknowledge those. It's very important because that's part of facing your fears, dealing with your innermost deep feelings. And I'm talking deep feelings. These go all the way back to childhood. And the way you do that is you just start writing. You get a journal, okay? And you start writing down how you feel, dealing with these emotions, dealing with these feelings, how they make you feel. Are they still impacting your life today? And how much they are impacting your life today. And then you start to write down how they make you feel. What kind of behaviors do they create within yourself? Like, is your wounded self or your ego the part of you that absorbed all of these feelings, like fears, false beliefs, how you protect yourself, your behaviors? Are these behaviors and these fears impacting your life and the way you are today? For example, relationships. If you didn't have a great relationship with your father and you had trauma with that, or as a child with a friend, or as you were growing up as a teenager with a boyfriend, abuse, negative talk, or even children picking on you, telling you weren't pretty enough, etc., etc., that creates this shadow of how you deal with emotions, love, relationships, commitment, etc., etc. So you have to go back and face that fear. You have to face those issues. You have to deal with them. You have to forgive them. You have to face these feelings, and then you release them. It's not an easy task. It doesn't fix itself overnight. This takes some commitment and work on your part to do that. And the best way to do that, I found, is that journaling, talking it through, facing the fears and the feelings as they come up, and acknowledging them and working through that. So, for example, if you were teased a lot as a child, that will cause you to have low self-esteem. If you've accepted the fact the way our society shows you you're supposed to look like a perfect Barbie doll, that will create a low self-esteem as how you see yourself. And then you have to work on that, because that creates a dark shadow inside yourself, and the way you see yourself, the way you behave, how you dress, self-love, and the list just goes on. So you have to learn to love yourself, work through this dark feeling, work through all of this that you have suppressed in your life and your inner self, in order to work through and fix those dark shadows. Okay? So to begin, you have to ask yourself, what created this? What was the root? Where did this start? Where did this feeling start? Like low self-esteem. Where did it come from? How did that happen? And then you look back on that, and then you start to work through that process. And keeping this journal as you work through this is really great, because then you can look back on it and you can say, wow, what an impact this has. And you can see where you started and how far you've come through this process of fixing and doing your shadow work. Okay. By dealing with the pain and facing it, it's going to open up so many areas in your life, and you're going to feel so much better once you do. You'll feel your energy start to change. The way you see things, the way you deal with things in life will change. Like, you won't be so easily angered. You won't feel so depressed. You'll see things in a different light, I promise. So it's very important to work on your shadow. Even with grief, that creates a shadow as well. And you really need to work on that. If you've lost a loved one or a friend and you haven't really been able to let that go, even though you think you have, that can also create some problems as well, okay? Sometimes it'll make you feel lost and alone. Grief can do that to you. So facing it and dealing with those emotions is very important, okay? We have to learn to deal with our feelings and our shadows and our behaviors. Otherwise, they create other issues, other problems, other health problems. And that's why it's important to do that. So I'm going to do a series of shadow work videos, and we can do it step by step. And hopefully that will help everyone, because it's important in getting you to a better place where you can grow and develop and feel better and be happy and love yourself. It's very important to love yourself, okay, from the inside out, because you're beautiful, you're amazing, you're strong, and you have a beautiful life ahead of you. So are you ready to take this journey on shadow work? Are you ready to do this? Let's do it together.